I was surprised that you didn't bring up, unless you've done it on other programs,
Tell me.
Bloomberg.
You know what? We haven't done that yet. Do you want to tee off on Bloomberg for 2 minutes before you leave?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Go for it. I love it. A Richard Wolff special.
Two things on Mr. Bloomberg.
Yes.
One, he's obviously, like the rumors about Mrs. Clinton, a recognition that the Biden candidacy is in deep doo-doo.
Yes,
and
indeed.
they have to find some way to hold on to some centrist, and having somebody with a big reputation, that would have been Clinton, or a big wallet, that's Mr. Bloomberg. That's the kind of logic that party functions with. But here's another one. I was asked on a program yesterday, what is Michael Bloomberg's legacy? And this might be an interesting way to think about it. Michael Bloomberg can never run for another office in New York City because his legacy. He was such a disaster that he has to run for something else because he can't be dog catcher in New York City. Why? Because he is the man who ordered the bulldozers to destroy Zuccotti Park, to get rid of the free public library that was in the milk crates that they had set up, to stop feeding the hungry and poor who came for food, free food there, and all the rest. But that alone, look, it was a coordinated thing. The Obama administration did it in the 60 cities across the country the same day, the same hour. It was obviously a governmental operation. The same Mr. Obama, interesting slip, the same Mr. Obama who used to say to people I know were in his office that he'd love to be more leftist and radical, but there'd have to be a groundswell. He can't do it himself. There has to be support.
Right, sure.
This man then destroyed the most important potential support for what he said he needed. You know, what? But not Obama tonight. Bloomberg. The day after he mowed down Zuccotti Park, he had a press conference, and the press asked him, look, you used violence. These people didn't use any. You violently destroyed what they had built there. And why did you do that? And because he's not the sharpest knife in the drawer, he answered in one of those ways that ended his career. He said, it's because they were making the park dirty.
Yeah.
The mayor of the filthiest subway system on the planet suddenly acquired an aversion to dirt. Just dirt over there. And the man said it was wonderful to watch, with the same smiley confidence that made you realize everything that comes out of that man's mouth is horseshit.
That's right.
And that's a legacy, and that's why he can never resurface here. And the mistake of putting something like that up for the Democratic Party is...
It only helps Bernie.
Yeah.
Run, Mike, run. He is a personification of every problem of our world. And I mean, the idea, talk about the power of ideology, that there are a lot of extremely affluent, extremely educated, extremely highly self-regarding people that really, truly think that, and even in ways that shouldn't matter, but let's be blunt, a short, charisma-free technocrat, oligarch, who is known primarily nationally for terrorizing people about drinking soda or smoking, is what the heartland is crying out for. I mean, that's really who's going to bring dignity back to the mill towns and the inner cities and the rural country. That is exact. I mean, I said this story in Majority Report, and I'll be really quick because I know we got to go. But several years ago, I was with a couple of friends, and one of their fiance, wonderful. You know, I always kind of hate telling stories like this because she's great, but she was kind of giving the spiel of like, well, what about Michael Bloomberg? And I like what he's doing about guns. And me and this other guy who is a Republican strategist now from totally different ends, were like, oh my God, that guy is a massive asshole. Nobody outside of the Upper East Side and the Joe Scarborough, green room is ever going to be interested in him. And this guy, 2 tables down or 1 table down, literally had like the goatee and the tattoos and the da-da-da. And he, I'm sorry, don't mean to be rude. And And then he kind of looks and he goes, Miss, I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude, but you got to listen to your friends because I hate that guy. And he went on a diatribe. And again, like a very normal, I mean, he liked Obama, but he owned a gun shop. I mean, he was all over the place, which is typical, I think, when you talk to actual normal people. But one thing that was very clear was he fucking hated Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah.
And I mean, the fact that he and the people around him and, you know, idiots like Chuck Todd actually think that this is anything other. I mean, this is literally a avatar of a Bernie Sanders endorsement. So, you know, thank you.
Also, I live in the district in Manhattan where the woman who represented our district, I believe it was, she did, but I'm not sure. Quinn was her name.
Oh,
and she
Christine
got him.
Quinn.
She led the thing to allow him to circumvent the
term limits.
two-term limits, so he could run for a third time. Another lovely legacy. And when she then ran, that was some kind of deal. Then he supported
she
her
ran,
to run for mayor.
Yep.
And I remember in my neighborhood in Manhattan, in the weeks before the election, massive numbers of people in our neighborhood wore T-shirts that said, anyone but Quinn. And the reason was her association and her conniving with Bloomberg.
Isn't it just amazing, though, that, you know, Giuliani led this vicious, racist, just a war on the New York underclass. And then Bloomberg came in, and then it was like phase 2, turned this into a giant money laundromat. Like we had, I mean, and the terrorism continued, but the Giuliani, just pure thug. Then Bloomberg came along, and I mean, it's disgusting. And I guess the best thing about him running for president is we can all be extremely clear about who he is and what his legacies are. Professor Richard Wolff, thank you as
very
always.
much,
I'm
Michael.
so honored. You just watched a Michael Brooks Show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.